In this video I will be showing you how we got two ridiculously cheap airline tickets courtesy of British Airways and Avios. So keep watching. Welcome back to Travel with Rob and Sue, and yes, in this video I will be showing you how we have booked our latest two reward tickets to Washington DC, courtesy of British Airways and Avios. I'll be showing the savings we've made and comparing the reward flights with similar flights that you can find on the internet. Now, if you watch regularly, you will know that we collect British Airways Avios points, which are redeemable with both British Airways and their partner airlines. You will have also seen that we accumulate these points solely with the expenditure of our British Airways American Express Premium Credit Card. We can also accumulate points if we actually purchase flights directly with British Airways. But to date, we have flown over 50,000 miles with British Airways and haven't purchased one single ticket. So we accumulate our Avios points just through our normal day-to-day expenditure. So it's not really costing us any money. There's a freebie right there. And if you want another freebie, then check out the totally free companion voucher that they give you when you spend a certain amount on the credit card each year. And this allows you to get a second ticket in the same class as any reward flight that you claim using your Avios miles. So essentially, we are in 2-for-1 territory now. But the question everybody is asking is, are they really truly free? Well, before we get into the fine detail, let me tell you about the first of our planned 2025 excursions. We currently have 2 free companion vouchers in the British Airways bank, if you want to call it that, one of which expires soon. So I said to Sue, look, we can't afford to let it go to waste, so we need to find somewhere to go. Companion tickets only work if you claim them at the same time as a reward flight. So we've got to collect enough points to be able to get that reward flight to start with, and then we can use the companion voucher, and that's what we've been doing. Due to reasons that I will discuss in another video, it makes sense to use your companion voucher on the most expensive flight you can possibly afford with your reward points, and this generally means long haul. So when I told Sue last October that we had a companion voucher that was expiring, we basically went through the whole of the BA flight schedules to see where we'd like to go. Of course, America is always a favourite, and we've used our last 2 vouchers to travel to Las Vegas. Last trip wasn't entirely a success because Sue was ill during the stay, so we did consider going back for a third attempt. But Sue wasn't overly keen with that idea. We've been to Vegas now twice, we've seen most of what we need to see, and she was eager to try somewhere else. Sue fancied New York, but we've also been there once, and we decided again, let's try somewhere different. We've already got a 2-week cruise booked for this year, and because we're both still working, we've sort of run out of holidays. We couldn't really do a full USA coast-to-coast tour or something like that. We couldn't really warrant going to the Caribbean or Mexico just for a week. So we turned our attention to a place where we wanted to go many years ago, and actually it was all planned, and then at the last minute we had a bit of a hiccup and we ended up not going, and that was Washington DC. And so we had a look and said, you know what, it's always been on our bucket list, let's do it. So that's where we booked the reward tickets. We're off to Washington DC. So let me get back to the point of the video, which is how we ended up with 2 really cheap tickets, premium economy tickets no less, to Washington DC, courtesy of British Airways and Avios. So I can already sense people reaching for the keyboards to say that these tickets aren't free at all, and we couldn't have possibly got them as cheap as I'm going to tell you that we've got them now. That happened on our Las Vegas trip, and if you want to see how that one panned out, then go down into the description below and you'll see a link to the last video where I explained how we got those prices. I must admit, I got a comment on that video that really made me sit and question my thinking on this, and I ended up going back and trawling through all the data and all the prices and all the invoices to make sure that I got my maths right, because I'm not great at maths, and I'll be the first to admit it. But having done that, I could honestly say I hadn't made a mistake. I was totally right in what I was saying. That was the price we had paid. And I've double and triple checked the figures this time before we even put this video out to say this is correct. This is how much we have paid for these tickets. So let me turn to the reward ticket itself. We are flying from London Heathrow to Dulles International Airport in Washington DC. Now you may recognise the name from the famous American politician after which it is named, or, more like me, you recognise it because it was the setting for Die Hard 2. Now the cost of a World Traveller Plus ticket with Avios reward points is a whopping 85,000 miles. That is a massive increase on what the tickets used to be for long haul. We only pay between 57 and 60,000 for the Caribbean, Jamaica, Mexico. So this is a huge hike. Now we could have gone in economy for significantly less, but we decided and we wanted some comfort on the way there and back. So we pushed the boat out and we've done premium economy, or World Traveller Plus as British Airways like to call it. So okay, I just managed to save 85,000 miles in my account, and I passed them over to British Airways, completely wiping out my account in one single throw. At the same time, I used one of the reward companion vouchers to gain the second seat, which is totally free as far as the ticket price is concerned. So I've now got 2 tickets totally free, one with the reward miles and one just for the fact that I've spent the money on the credit card over the previous year. Now, one ticket with the reward miles is pretty good value, but to get 2 for the price of 1. But even I don't normally call these tickets free, because they're not. And I've noticed a lot of videos out there discussing Avios miles who do call them free reward miles, but they're not free. So right off the bat, let me make it clear, but these tickets are not without cost. But I am classing them as extremely good value and not to be sniffed at. So technically, the tickets are free. But then, BA adds 2 additional charges, the first one being the unavoidable UK and US passenger air duties, and the second one is what BA call a handling charge, which covers, I don't know what, to be honest. For these Washington tickets, that charge, total charge, tax and handling charge, came to £305 each. So, we actually had to contribute, on top of the 85,000 reward miles, £610. So let's be clear, I have got 2 tickets to Washington DC, premium economy, for £610. And just to be clear, if we decided to travel economy, we would have used a lot less miles, and the charges would have only been £200 each. So that's significant in itself. Now, as always, Sue has booked wheelchair disability in with the tickets, and therefore we get to pick our seats for free instead of having to charge extra, so there's no charge for the seats. So once the reward tickets came through, I went straight on to manage my booking, and we booked our normal bulkhead seats. And so far, those seats are still booked. The ones that we've picked are still there. They haven't repositioned us, they haven't moved us to a different aisle or anything like that. We've still got the bulkhead seats. I'm checking now every day, we're getting very close to the flight, checking now every day to make sure they don't go and move us into some back seat somewhere, because we like those bulkhead seats, they give us a little bit more extra room. So British Airways, don't move us, please. So, the question is, how does my £610 for 2 premium economy tickets with the extra legroom compare to if I'd just gone onto the internet and bought those tickets? So let's have a look. At the time of booking, back in October, I checked Skyscanner and looked for exactly the same flights, exactly the same itinerary with British Airways, and the price for the 2 tickets would have been £1,577 each. That's a massive saving of £2,544 against my 610. So that's Skyscanner's price for British Airways tickets on the internet that anybody could have bought. You would have paid £1,577 each, I paid £305. But hang on, British Airways have always been very, very expensive when compared to other airlines. So, in fairness, and to make sure that I was still getting a good deal, I always checked the other airlines. And the cheapest airline that I could find that was offering the same itinerary was Virgin. And Virgin's tickets were a massive £400 each cheaper than the British Airways alternatives. This is on Skyscanner. So it would have made sense, if we were going to book through Skyscanner, we would have been going Virgin. And this is one of the reasons why I never ever book British Airways tickets, because they are never ever the cheapest. And let's face it, they're not a massively fantastic better airline than any of the others, so they really, in my mind, don't justify that almost double the cost at times. So, if we're going to compare our reward flights with Virgin, we're still a whopping £1,604 savings compared to what we would have paid for the Virgin Airline tickets on the internet. I mean, £1,604 is not a bad saving. Well, that's probably a small cruise for the pair of us. So that's another holiday. Well worth it. So the last time I presented these figures, somebody said, but you're comparing peak with off-peak fares. That's not right. Well, that wasn't true then, and it isn't true now. These are all off-peak fares that we're looking at. Now, just to double check, I went back onto Skyscanner and back onto British Airways in January of this year to double check what the fares were. Because you would probably expect to see the fares falling maybe, but on the flight that we were taking, unfortunately, all the tickets had already gone. So we could only compare similar flights on the same day, which is not quite the same thing, because there is a slight difference in price depending on what time of the day that you fly. And all the reward tickets had gone, because they only release 8 per flight in each of the classes, and they do tend to go quite rapidly. And on that particular flight, it must have been popular because all the tickets had gone for that flight. So my saving against the BA Skyscanner tickets had now dropped from 2,544 to 1,954. The online Virgin price saving had dropped to around £1,200. It's still a decent saving. Wait, put your hands down. I know what you're going to say next. We have the American Express Premium Plus card. It is better than the normal card because you get 1.5 points per pound spent, but for that you have to pay an annual fee of, it is now £300 per year. It was originally £150, and over the 11 years that we've been with them, it's crept up from £150 to £300. It's doubled basically. And I don't know, but actually with inflation that's probably not that bad. But of course we do have to set that £300 annual fee against the flight ticket cost. So now, instead of £610, we have actually paid out, in effect, £910. So, I hope you're staying with me. So now, the saving has dropped again, and it's now only £1,654 compared with the standard British Airways costs on Skyscanner, and £966 if you compare it against the Virgin flights. Okay, it's not as good as the original £2,544 I was talking about, but it's still nearly £1,000 worth of savings. Can you really complain about that? Are you not entertained? Wait, I haven't finished. One last thing to say. I can see all those accountants and mathematicians out there saying I've missed a vital point. And the point is this: the value of the Avios points. Although they are costing me nothing, we are spending on our credit card like we normally would on day-to-day stuff. We're not doing anything extravagant. If I was to take, let's say, one of the many credit cards that do a cashback, we would be actually earning money on that. So how much money would we have earned if we had put it in a 1% cashback card, for instance? So, and if you deduct that from the actual saving we've made, then it makes a difference. And you can legitimately say, well, look, if you had that credit card, you would have had this amount of money to put towards those flights. Okay, so let me do that. If we had a 1% credit card, then 8,500 points at £1 per pound would have equaled £850 worth of money you would have got back on your 1% credit card. Now that's not strictly right, because the British Airways card actually gives 1.5 points per pound, so it would have been something different. But let's imagine that I use that £850 off the credit card and I put them against the Virgin flights, which were the cheapest. How much would have that cost me? Well, I don't know if there's any fees for the cashback card, so we'll just have to put that to one side. If we use the money against the British Airways flight, we would have still had a saving of around £800, and we would have only had a saving of about £116 against the Virgin. So to summarise, what I'm saying is this: that there might be some other way that you can use with your cashbacks or whatever that you would probably break even compared to using the Avios. But let's face it, even break even's not bad, because it means that I'm not any worse off with collecting my reward points as you would be collecting your cashback on your credit card. The only difference is you get to choose what you use that cashback for, and I have to swap my Avios points for reward tickets. But that's what I'm doing it for, so I'm fine with that. At the end of the day, I get my Avios miles. That's sort of cashback for me, except it comes as airline tickets rather than hard money. I said right at the start we still have one companion ticket left. It expires in early 2026. We don't get that many holidays. We can't keep flying off to wherever around the world every 2 minutes. So we are going to use our next ticket on a short-haul flight to go and see one of my friends who lives in the Czech Republic, or Czechia as it's now known. And it's a perfect opportunity for me to do this exercise again and find out if using your companion ticket for short haul, where the flight prices are a lot cheaper, is still worth it and still good value for money. So I hope that you will join me when we do that later in the year, and you can see if actually it doesn't matter whether you fly short haul or long haul, you still get good value, or Avios is only any good if you go long haul. I hope I haven't confused you too much. I hope that the video's been informative. Anyway, coming up next will be our actual trip to Washington DC. So if you don't want to miss out on that, then don't forget to subscribe. And I hope that if you've enjoyed this video, or at least you find it informative, give it a like. It just makes sure that everybody else gets to see it as well. And we will be doing more British Airways Avios videos in the future. If you're not into British Airways, if you're not an Avios fan, if you're not long haul fans, then don't despair, don't run off, because in the not too distant future we will be back on board the P&O cruise ship and sailing off for the Med. So again, if you want to watch that, then please subscribe, and in the meantime there's something like 300 videos that you can have a look through, and I'm sure there will be something that is going to be of interest to you. For now, I'm Rob, this is Travel with Rob and Sue, and we say safe travels and hope to see you soon. Bye.